and,
Oh, yeah.
and their reimbursements are going down.
So that's partial good news. But the other shoe has to drop. And then as a way of further updates, these are pages to your budget book.
Excuse me.
And these changes, I've just updated the summary and the revenue detail, and only one page of the expense detail has to do with the debt service. Because we have so as you see, as a result of the new figures, we're now looking at, of revenue, we're looking at an excess levy of about $89,000, almost $90,000.
Which new revenues?
The new state revenues.
Okay, so you are including it?
Yes, that's included in here.
Oh, okay, I thought you were leaving them out for now until the
No,
I
check.
thought you-
no, I did include the new figure for the Chapter 70 and the government.
Oh, I
That's-
see.
That's in the budget.
Okay,
That's
But that may
reflected
be
in the
wiped
sheet.
out by assessments.
It could be, yeah.
yeah.
So the excess levy of 89,000, does that include the potential
Health insurance.
health insurance savings?
No, it does not.
Okay. I'll mark some, I just wanna make,
I only put in here what I either know is
okay,
relatively certain, and if I'm not, it's last year's numbers.
well, so we're not, I just wanna make sure we're keeping track of
Yeah.
things that are still going in and out.
And the other thing, it still doesn't include our wages for town employees, any wage increases. We actually have a tentative agreement with one of the units, and we're very close to agreement with the other two. And I'm not scheduled to meet until the first week of April again, so it's gonna be tight.
But what we also have in here, as I'm looking, this does not include the full-time person for IT for schools, correct? Because I have a note that that was gonna be an additional $37,750.
Well, I know you mentioned that in an email, Sandy, but this is the full number that Carol gave for wages and
Okay,
Okay.
non-wages.
And that includes,
And it
Additional-
includes all the additional personnel changes.
okay,
that's what, because I'm looking at her thing, that-
all right. That's fine, yeah. Do we have from them a breakdown? What we thought we were gonna get, a breakdown of their step and scale, how much of this increase is step and scale, how much of this increase is increased step?
That number's different.
I know.
I know it's, and let me tell you why. Because you have to look in the detail. Expense detail, there's a change this year. I don't think they picked up on it. I did,
Tab you on,
Theirs or ours?
in theirs.
Theirs, oh, I see.
I think mine is more accurate.
See, this is, I got three different numbers.
you got three?
I have three.
What tab you on
That's
here?
not too good.
in
I had-
the ed budget.
I'm not on the ed budget, I'm looking right now in the detail of our budget under tab 3.
Oh, okay.
I'm using the sheet that he just gave us tonight,
And their book, right?
in their book. And
Yeah.
Right,
Front
and that's what I'm
page, the
saying.
overall budget
Right.
is different.
Right, and that's the, exactly, and that's, on the detail, it has the 11,404 plus the 2192 equals the 13,597,057 that Mike is showing.
Yeah, what they don't have,
No, they've got 13,659, that's why,
Yeah, no, and right here, he's right. Their grand total in their book is 13,634.
yeah.
And on this page here, unless, budget request overall, that's, I call that the total,
I would guess. Where is that? Which tab was that under? in
page
their book?
one.
It's the page 1, yeah.
That's the very first one, Jim.
Okay.
Isn't it-
Oh, yeah.
There are 3 different numbers.
There are, by gosh.
Okay,
13,597, 13,634, and 13,659. We'll take the bottom one.
Sold.
Sold.
Are you following what we're seeing, Mike, or not?
they're not carrying the Essex County Technical School sending tuition.
oh, that trick again.
We used to carry it, it used to be a cherry sheet
Separate
item.
item.
Yeah, it looked like it's on the cherry sheet here.
Well, the title is, but there's.
Oh, there's nothing under 15.
Right, and
Oh,
because
It's in their budget.
it's supposed to be carried in their budget,
oh.
and I just moved it over, from one,
I see. Yeah.
from the one section of the budget to the other, so it was a neutral,
Okay.
change. But it does change their total, it doesn't change the total budget.
Okay, so then the question
But
is,
yeah,
You're still-
then the Essex should come out somewhere else in this budget.
It did, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, it did, okay.
It came out in,
That's in the last page. Oh, it would be, wait a minute.
yeah, it came out on the last page under recap.
Yeah,
Recap
recap.
charges.
Okay.
If you see Essex County Tech sending tuition, there's a notation that says move to school budget.
Oh, yeah, okay. All right.
But I didn't add it into the school budget because I didn't think they would be carrying it. So I put it
You put it in,
in
okay.
as a.
And I see that
Subtotal.
you used the number on their page
I did.
rather than the number back here. Good,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
good, okay, fine. Okay.
which, let's see, minus,
Yeah, 62, it comes out, it comes out, right, I think.
oh, wrong way.
Nice keyboard.
Thank you. Us old people who keep getting more and more blind. So I got 1, 6, 3, 4, 8, 7, 1, 3, 6, 3, 4. 1, 3, 7. That's
No,
the
no,
that's the 37,750. So what they have on the first page here is the 13,597.
Right.
And what they have under tab D is the 13,634. That difference is the $37,750, which would be for a full-time IT person. Because the 13,597 does not include the full-time IT person.
Oh, okay.
And the 13,634 does include the full-time person.
Oh, is that right? Okay. I
Okay.
had forgotten that.
Yeah,
Saying I thought it was gonna be down to 37,000.
No, it's the difference.
Difference.
Because this, the
They're taking money from
13,597
somewhere else,
included a part-time IT
Okay.
person. But the new, this number, the 13,634 includes a full-time, and that difference is the 37,000, because they were talking about basically around 70,000 or something like that, I
Yeah.
think, for the salary. And then that's where we need the information from Red in regards to that salary amount for the IT person, that cost versus hiring a company. Okay, everybody follow why
Right,
we
yeah,
have different
right,
numbers?
right.
Right, so if you take Mike's new number,
It doesn't have the 37 in it.
it does not have the 37, right, so if, for instance, we were to go with a full-time IT, take that 89, take the 37.7 right off the top,
Right,
because that's not included in the number up here.
right.
Mike, did you follow what I?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, you don't take it off, because it's not there.
If
Oh,
If
if
it's-
we
if-
do.
If it's funded,
Oh,
yes.
okay, you have to take it off of that.
Have to
I'm
take it
sorry,
off of
yes.
that, because
Yes.
that full-time
Right.
person is not included in the 13,659.
Right.
This is tab D.
Could we once again ask them for that breakdown of step and scale plus new positions?
Yeah, 'cause unless it was in the narrative,
Yeah, are you sure it's not in here?
I didn't see it.
I thought I
didn't-
read something in the narrative.
I see words, I don't see numbers, and the numbers are buried in their budget, as far as I can tell.
Yeah,
Unless they can point them out to us, if they can point them out to us, that's great. I just wanna know what the numbers are.
What the increase in step is and what the increase in
What,
scale.
yeah, what the step and scale is, cause that's, I think I pretty much told them that I don't see how we could give them step and scale and new hires and shortchange other people for raises. I mean, that doesn't make any sense.
So I can have that too, so Mike.
the other change, although there's not much of a net change, because it appears, well, because of the speed at which the new school is being built, they're ahead of schedule, even though they lost a
They are ahead of schedule.
a
yeah.
month. Oh, yeah. And the cash flow demands have changed. I think I might have, I don't know which meeting I was at when I explained
This
this.
is yours.
But
Yeah.
the cash flow was, that we were originally given was about $1.5 million a month from this point through, at least for the next 9 months. Well, they've redone the cash flow, and it's basically gonna be double that. It's gonna be $3 million a month for the next 6 months. So our original thought was borrow one chunk of money now and then another chunk next year. But we're gonna, the bottom line is we're gonna have to borrow almost all the money now, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because we know the interest rate.
The interest rates are better now than they will be, yeah, a
Probably.
year from now. That's
But
probably
if
true.
you could predict that, if anybody could predict that, they wouldn't be
Yeah,
here.
they'd be making a lot of money,
Yeah.
yeah, that's right.
So, we know we can get 4% right now, for 25 years. And so we're going to draw down, it hasn't been finally decided by the selectmen, but on the 14th, we're meeting with our bonding advisor, and we'll probably take out a bond for 25 million. That's also gonna cover 6 million we've already borrowed. We'll roll the short-term borrowing into that. But what it's gonna do is, we're gonna start paying the principal and interest a year earlier. And that's why I passed out I think it's page 4 or 5 of the expense detail. And you'll see new numbers for principal and interest on the Pembroke construction project. But even as that raises the interest expense, it also raises the debt exclusion on the summary page.
Right, which I see so it's gone from 1.2 million to 1.9 million.
Correct.
Is what you're expecting to collect. And is that number collection and taxes from residents? Or does that include MSBA money too?
That does not include MSBA, sir.
So this taxes, we're expecting another $700,000 that will be raised in taxes
Yes,
for revenue.
yes.
Okay.
Well, but it's going to be deducted from yes, it does, but it's deducted from the levy limit, or excluded from the
Right,
levy
right.
limit.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying, it's just that's where that number
It's more
changed.
taxes that people have to pay, it doesn't,
A year earlier.
a year earlier, yeah.
But, and as I mentioned, I think I mentioned, and we haven't finalized this, but the route we're planning to take, instead of having that hit the tax rate on the last half of the year, the third and fourth quarter, we're going to start it on the fourth quarter, so it won't be as
It's a
a
bit
big,
smaller.
a
yeah.
big a hit. Spread it out all 4 quarters instead of just the last 2. First year.
The way it would be normally.
Right.
You
Because if you remember, we did the study, it was, it was a relatively small amount, but it hit on the last 2 quarters, and people were, it was like an extra $300 each quarter, and they weren't expecting that.
Are we going to be able to have a town meeting any sort of explanation of what people can expect their taxes to be going up?
Yes.
So we can say, look at page such and such, because
Yeah,
they're
we
going,
should, that's a good.
they're going to ask that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't make enough copies, but just to give you a ballpark figure, on a 25-year, no, I didn't bring that with me. I shouldn't get into it without all the numbers,
Then don't.
yeah.
But we definitely gonna need to have that for the
But
book
if,
and the town meeting.
I did put the numbers in the tax rate calculator we use, got it updated by assessing. And, well,
Is that something you're gonna, you shared that online before, right?
yeah,
Okay.
we,
It is, it's online
So,
now.
is it
isn't
online?
It's on the
It's still on-
website.
okay.
yeah,
Where is it on the website?
you know, I'm not sure, but it needs to be updated with
With the new tax rate?
well, with the new valuations.
Yeah, okay.
And
Oh,
the tax rate.
yes.
So, once it's finalized, we'll get that out to the public on the website, and, you know, we'll include it in the town meeting book too.
And Park and Rec numbers are in here? That was a late entry?
Yes, they are. Yeah, I didn't include that
We're gonna see it in
expense
the-
line, but it's in this, it shows in the summary.
Did Park and Rec even change that much?
No, they didn't.
It didn't, so.
There was a slight change.
Yeah. There's an increase, is this under culture and recreation? Is
It
it in the
is, yeah.
summary? Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, $105,000.
Yeah, is that all Park and Rec?
Yes,
Okay.
Goose control?
yes.
What's goose control?
Okay, we can change that.
The geese off the
Two
beach, and keep it from fouling the beach.
Yeah,
It's kind of necessary.
a dog.
That would be the easiest one, you're right, Jim.
We gotta-
Rent a
we gotta-
German Shepherd.
We got a
Rent a
leash,
dog.
we got a leash law in this town, it's like, we're working against ourselves.
I know.
Bring them all down the beach.
I think, the city of Boston has that problem with, down around the swan boats on the public garden. And I think they have a dog, they have a guy that comes with the dog, and he runs around and chases the geese away.
Well, they bring the swans in there, Romeo and Juliet.
I know.
Romeo
I
was,
know,
it
I
was a
know.
bad Romeo one year.
The
They had to
swans
get
are a lot
Romeo out of
nastier
it.
than geese, I understand, you know.
Well, the only way to eradicate geese is coyotes.
The What?
Coyotes.
Have them for Christmas dinner.
Yeah, that's basically all the,
You can always get him out there.
that's all the
You know, how long you gotta cook one of those.
budget updates I have for the committee.
All right.
Christmas is
Will,
long.
next week, as we go into our deliberations, this next meeting, will you have any updates on union contracts yet or not? Or will you
Probably-
have estimates? Or good guesstimates?
Well, right now I have one tentative agreement.
He said April, I think, right?
Yeah, I won't know until, till really the first week of April.
Okay. And then, okay, so we'll just get an update on that, and then we need information from Red Kelly.
Yeah.
That's kind of a critical number in this mix,
And stepping scales
and
for
step and scales.
Yeah.
teachers.
What are we doing with the other positions that have popped up? The highway and the.
It's all included right now, yeah, we're gonna,
It's still included.
Oh, that's
It's-
included, I
it's
hadn't.
still, those are all still included.
His,
Okay.
his,
The accounting,
yeah,
Yep.
whatever that is.
all those,
I don't know.
the extra, the accounting clerk is in there, the highway, the increased hours for council on aging.
What did? and what-
Basically, everyone's requests are in here.
Okay, what about, but the police were doing something, what,
I
what
didn't think
was
the
he doing?
police was in, how, and all the fire
They
departments,
needed to
right?
hire.
Is he just? say he
Police
needed
is
to,
in
or-
there. Fire, he's gonna work within his current budget, just reclassify people.
Okay. I don't remember what the police were doing.
You're trying to prepare for people retiring, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, those are.
What the way he explained it made sense. It was either pay now or pay more later.
He wanted to put some people through the academy so he would have them, as opposed to upgrading his part-timers. And he had some retirements, and he
Right.
figured that if he put the people into the academy now, by
Yes.
the time they
They'd be
graduated,
ready,
they'd be ready to take
That's
the
what it was.
positions that were retiring.
Right, right.
That's what it was.
And those numbers are in there.
They're in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, so basically, the only number that is not in here is union, non-union town side wages increases, the full-time person for school for IT, and any potential health savings, which could offset, if we're going to end up including that, but that's, when will you have that answer, whether we're gonna be able to include that or not?
Within 30 days.
30 days, okay.
Do we have any active negotiations with the police and fire departments, or teachers?
Not with the teachers. Every school
15 is the last year, I think,
unit,
isn't it?
yeah, every school unit has a settled contract.
Okay.
The two police units and the mixed unit at the town are all expiring this year. And that's the one.
So you're negotiating
We're actively
those now? Okay.
negotiating, yep. And one has a tentative agreement.
Yeah.
But neither side has ratified it.
Okay.
So you want to move on to CIP?
Sure. Sure, you wanna hand out the new draft warrant so we can follow along on the warrant?
Yep, I can do that.
Is that the same as the one you sent out?
Well,
We believe so, but we're just gonna throw those out, the ones I sent, unless you have notes, and we're just gonna get all fresh ones, so that way we know we're all working off the same one.
first, let me pass out the CIP financing plan. Here's the updated warrant.
Okay, Mike?
Yeah, check the thickness on of these, Sandy.
Yeah. Printing on one side, I need to teach him how to print on two sides.
Oh, okay,
Ah.
all right.
As Mike shakes his head. You don't like double-sided?
I do, but certain people don't.
Especially when you're doing drafts.
Yeah, oh, I hear you.
Okay.
The selectmen don't like double-sided, it confuses them.
They have to flip the paper.
Selectmen don't, oh, they don't like getting double-sided?
No. So, we'll start with the, just so you, we'll start with the financing or funding plan.
Okay.
I think I've talked about these. And the backup that, of the submittal is attached here too. Some of them provide a lot more detail, some of them don't at all. But in any event, the CIP committee has recommended these, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 projects. One of which is the rehab of the ambulance, and that's gonna come out of the enterprise fund for the ambulance, so it's not gonna impact the general fund at all.
Do they have that money already?
Yes.
So they don't need to borrow or anything, right? They can pay for it in cash?
That's right. So, the town hall fence, was a request, I put it under administration, but it came essentially from the Historical Society, Historic Commission, sorry. They asked for $64,665, and the CIP committee voted to, recommend $50,000.
Where's
They
this,
had, that's right on the top there.
yeah, where's this fence going?
It's 300,
Town hall. They
300
replaced
feet on the side of, on
They
Central
replaced the
Street.
chain link fence.
They, the original amount included
Oh, that's, I know what this
demolition
is.
and removal of the old fence and also plantings. We deducted both of those. The light department and the highway department can remove the fence at no cost. You know, we thought we could possibly find plantings from donations or
Well, there's,
something like that.
there's some there already.
Yeah.
and So,
Is the fence replacement going to be the same kind of fencing, or is it gonna be wrought iron?
well, it's
No,
wrought
that-
iron, that's, is
That's
what's
been
proposed.
the main concern for the last 3-4 years, because it's been before CPC for at least 2 years, and it gets denied because they want it to be well, Jim can explain it,
Yeah, the problem is that the fence that Ed, I've been involved in this as well, that the fence that they're proposing, which is a wrought iron fence, has a kind of a sophisticated epoxy coating on it, so that it won't rust. And I think Jimmy Demento in particular wants us to get one over the internet. And our feeling is that you don't know what kind of coating has on it, and you put a fence up, and in 5 years, it's gonna be rusty, and now what do you do with it? This is exactly the kind of fence that's in front of the cemetery on East Main Street.
Union Cemetery.
And it costs just as much money. That fence at the Union Cemetery cost $100,000. You know, it's a long distance. That from one end of that fence to the other is 300 feet, and that fencing costs like $100 $100+ every 5 or 6 feet. Plus, it has to go in by I can't think of how we have to pay the labor.
Prevailing wage.
Prevailing wage. 18,000 of it is prevailing wage to put the fence in. So, you know, and the quote, actually, I got the quote from the guys in Raleigh, it was 59,000, counting that, so. Yeah, I just don't know how it will get done. Because if you put it in with a different coating on, it's just gonna rust, and it'll look pretty bad. It'll look like the chain link fence in a few years, so.
This is gonna have to go out to bid, Mike. How do you think it's gonna come in on the bids?
Well, generally, when we get a price for budgetary purposes, I've seen most of the bids have been coming underneath that.
Okay.
Because usually the guy who gives the bid is gonna bid on it, and he bids it up a little bit, for
I don't know, that's
budgetary purposes,
possible. Yeah.
and that's, so, I think it'll, you know, they've been coming in less than budget. Plus, I don't disclose the budget. I mean, they can find it if they go through the documents, but I've also found that if you tell them what the budget is, that's what your bids are gonna be,
Right.
so,
Well, in this case, that might make it work.
yeah,
Yeah.
so,
I mean, I guess my feeling is that, you know, the fence, it looks just so awful. A
It
rusty
does.
chain link fence on the outside of Town Hall, when the Town Hall, well, it was painted a while ago, and you got a new sign and all of the rest of it. You got this
Well,
rusty chain
my
link
thoughts on
fence.
that when we had the meeting was, since the taxes are really taking a jump, I don't know how the town people would feel seeing a brand new fence put up. That was my argument at the meeting.
Oh,
How was the vote?
It was unanimous, but my thought was maybe, if we could put it on the warrant as a separate article.
It will be.
it is.
It is.
It is?
Yeah.
All of these are separate
Yeah.
articles.
yeah,
So-
separate on the
Okay.
So
warrant.
it will
I
be,
didn't know
it
if
will
the
be determined by,
CIP
yeah,
Or was it a whole thing or just separate?
they'll all be separate.
Okay.
We'll vote our recommendations.
We can vote them separately even, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are all separate warrant articles, so this is not
Okay.
part of the consent calendar, so they're separate. So we'll be
Right.
taking a vote on each one for our recommendations, and ultimately, it is town meeting that decides whether it goes forward or not.
If it doesn't move forward, where does the money?
It just stays in capital.
It just stays in,
Just
yeah, it
stays.
just stays as, wherever it's coming from, the capital fund.
I don't know if this is appropriate or not to ask this question, but, you know, I've been hearing stories, you know, in town about, you know, maybe, at some point in time, that we're not going to consider this town hall a town hall, and maybe it should be moved, to the Pearly School. And I'm just wondering whether, if we're spending, you know, some serious, you know, kind of money, you know, for fencing and so on and so forth, we need to repaint the building, and we need to put air conditioning in and make the whole schmear, right? You know,
Well, we've
that's-
spent $1 million or more on this building in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And that's the first I've ever heard that, Reg. If anything goes in the Pearly
Okay,
School,
I've been hearing,
yeah,
I've
no,
been hearing.
if anything goes in
And the air
the,
conditioning's
hearing
in,
that,
isn't it?
but,
Air conditioning's in, I thought.
yes,
Yeah, air conditioning's
that was
in.
part of S.
Yeah, I know, I
Yeah.
realize that, but, you
Yeah.
know, the outside of the building's gotta be, you know, refinished, and
It's,
the storm windows are gonna be secured and all of that.
those already are.
Okay,
And the only thing that needs to be done is painting.
okay.
So I can never see, and like I said, the only thing that's been talked about the Pearly School is a senior center.
Right,
So, I don't know who's starting that rumor, but that's a rumor, and it's not a very good one.
Yeah, I can't imagine that there's
incorrect.
enough space.
No.
We're still gonna use the Pearly School as a preschool, right?
Preschool
Yes.
and,
Preschool.
yeah.
And then
It's
hopefully a
preschool.
se-
It's got some piece of that Pearly School
Education.
has to remain educational.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Well, yeah, the
I
back.
mean,
all the
that's
new
part
s-
of the
yeah,
trust.
That was gonna be the preschool.
That's
The
part of the
preschool
trust.
You can't see-
and and Carol's bringing in more administrators
Oh, that's right,
And then
yeah.
hopefully we'll bring in
to
the senior center.
centralize the administration, because they're spread out in the different schools right now.
Okay, well, I just don't see, if you're gonna, being a preschool, I can't see mixing the general public and town offices, that, those two are not gonna mix well together down there in that small little parking lot.
It's not gonna happen.
It's just, to me, the building's not suitable for it, you know, it's, a lot of people question this building, and that's even less.
Let's not go there. Let's not go. Let's not go there.
Okay,
Okay.
That was a big- a long
Any
time
questions
ago.
on the fence? I already mentioned the ambulance rehab. Car one replacement is for the fire chief's car. They requested $50,000 for a Tahoe-type vehicle, and the committee's consensus was, you know, a Ford-type Explorer would be more than sufficient.
what does he have now? He has something like a,
He's got an Explorer now, it's pretty
It's
old.
old.
I
yeah,
think
but I mean, is it,
I think it's bigger than an Explorer.
I think it's bigger than an Explorer
Yeah.
too, it's the next one up.
With a little,
Yeah.
I think he, with.
I thought so.
You got rid of the chief's cruiser
Yes.
Yeah.
and turned that into trade that in for a regular cruiser, right? So now the chief uses the
No, the
SU
Cruiser got traded in as a training vehicle. They set it on fire and cut it up. It was
It's,
junk.
it's right here, and that's what he's driving right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But it's a good size SUV, because he says he puts a lot of equipment in it.
It's an SUV that's, he's got a bunch of stuff in the back.
Yeah.
For $35,000, I'm sure he can come up with some type of a pickup truck with a cap on the back would be the same thing.
Well, the first time we funded this vehicle, we just said, here's X amount of dollars.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
go give what you can for
Right.
this price. And actually, he didn't even use a third, he used about a third of what we gave him.
That's fine.
I think we authorized $16,000, and he got this vehicle from
For
a local
$6,000.
hospital for $6,000.
Oh, wow.
Is there any special, or is there any special equipment that's required, or can the equipment that's in here be moved from this vehicle to another?
Well,
What is the outfitting for the lights structure?
well,
Is that part of his
I think
proposal?
the radios will all be moved, the lighting thing.
yeah, the only thing that,
Johnny's got the lighting thing down to a science. I don't know how he's doing it, but he's doing something
Okay.
with that. I have no idea.
the only thing that won't fit into a smaller vehicle, he has and it came with this vehicle, the shelves and things in the back for storage of items. Maps, tactical and strategic firefighting equipment.
He's gotten good use out of it, though. For the money that he spent.
Yeah,
Yes,
Oh, there's no question about that.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just. Yeah, I think 50,000 is a little high.
well, that's why we recommended 35.
I mean, I guess that the question is that, like you were saying, a pickup, does he really need, I
Well,
mean, you can sit there and get an F-150 off the
Are
state
they
bid
buying
list.
this off the state bid, or are they going out for bid?
I think the plan is to buy it off the state list.
Don't do that. The town of Georgetown has a fleet number with Ford. We have a fleet security. You go down to the fleet people at Danvers Ford, what's his name, Eklund. He'll give you the fleet deal through Ford, and, because the pickup I used to drive was a $35,000 pickup truck. We bought it for $23,000, brand new.
Where are they going? Are they going through MHQ? Is it,
Yes.
I mean, we beat the state bid all the time on that stuff.
I know, but the fire department and police department tend to, well, the fire guys like the MHQ.
well, the question is with MHQ is also, MHQ may not have vehicles in stock, as opposed to going out for a bid and getting something, that, even just a 2013 that's sitting on a lot, and you're gonna save a ton of money if you go out for a bid. And you might be able to go, depending upon the vehicle, you may be able to go out, not even have to do a bid, just go get pricing and then outfit it with everything else.
You go get pricing, if you keep the pricing on $25,000.
Yeah.
You'll get three
Well,
prices.
there was a special vehicle that they were talking about.
That's
It
not-
only has one seat in it. What did Don Cudmore say? What was the name of that vehicle that he said?
I don't recall.
It's pretty stripped down and,
Well, I mean, if they get 35,000, I guess the question would be is to make sure, as opposed to just automatically going with MHQ, which can sometimes, especially if this truck's falling apart, you may be waiting 6 months for MHQ.
Yeah.
Buying off state
Yeah.
bid list does not necessarily mean that MHQ is gonna have it in stock, as opposed to doing either quotes or whatever and see what you can get for
As
underneath.
soon as you start you go on the state bid list, and you say, I want this, oh, we haven't got that, but we'll get it for you.
Yeah,
And they order it.
they order it and then it's built to specs,
Yeah.
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 No, I guess they just, they need to make the best decision, get the best bang for the buck for 35,000, however they
Yeah.
Yeah.
can do it.
because I thought he said it was, the vehicle was 25,000, then it was 10,000 to have it outfitted. I thought that's what we talked about.
It may have been, I don't recall.
This is what, lights, radio, and all this
Yeah,
stuff?
all that has to be put
Yeah.
on after, it's like 10,000.
I have no idea.
How did the committee vote? Unanimous?
These are all unanimous.
These are all unanimous, okay. Okay.
All right, next.
Radar units for the police department, replacing older units.
I will vote in favor of this as long as they get set up on Elm Street during school commute times,
I'll vote in
so
favor.
I can get
as
out
long
of
as
my
they-
driveway safely.
I'll vote in favor, as long as they get 3 free passes.
How many cars is this? Where is this in here? Is the backup in order, or is it?
I tried to make it in order.
Okay.
What is that?
Oh, no.
That looks like a hot water tank, that isn't a radar unit. That's a police car.
It's 5 or 6 units.
Well, I would see it.
I don't
not
see
in
it.
here.
Oh, no. That's the,
I don't see it either.
You can email that to us.
Yeah.
So how many units do we know?
5 or 6.
5 or 6? For the cruisers?
Yes,
So these are cruiser radar units?
yes.
Are these mounted, or are these the guns?
I don't think they use the guns anymore, do they? I thought they were,
They're mounted.
Yeah.
Okay, you can just email that to us.
70 on chain link fence. That's not all, huh?
The next item is the exhaust system for the fire department, to add 2 more units. So all the vehicles will be plugged into it. When we got the ambulances, we ran out of spaces. The exhaust system attaches to the tailpipe, and then it's connected to a filter and a blower. And so when they start the vehicles in the garage, in the bay, as the doors are going up, they don't leave behind toxic exhaust in the bays, but more importantly,
It doesn't go up into the
doesn't go
police
up in
station.
the police station. They're not inhaling it.
Do they take these off manually, or?
No,
No.
they just drive away.
Oh.
And
They
it
just pop
falls
off?
Yeah,
Oh, they
yeah.
pop off, okay.
So, a few years ago, we put in 3 or 4 of them, I thought.
Yeah, I thought we put,
At
But they
least-
said that they need a couple more.
I think because of
Somewhat
the
other.
ambulances, I think.
The only question I would have, the whole blower system, I assume it has the capacity to take new ones.
good question. Can it be added
Um,
on?
Yeah, can
Expanded?
it? Or would they have to redo the whole system?
No, it's just additional
Okay.
two
additional
connections.
All right.
It says advantage, the setup will accommodate any configuration of apparatus in the fire station. So it doesn't matter which way doesn't matter which way the trucks are parked, or any truck can park?
Well, they had to jockey them around. They still, they get the first 2 vehicles up front.
Okay.
The ladder and the engine, and then I think the way they park them, it's the first 2 ambulances and the second 2 is behind it. So the back row is the ones,
That don't have it.
without them.
Okay.
The highway department's requesting a 1-ton, it's a 1-ton pickup with a dump body. And that includes, everything, with the plow and sander as well. There
This
was-
is saying-
You can see the backup is very,
Sparse?
that's a good way to put it,
I don't have anything for it.
Last page.
yeah.
Oh,
Please.
5, 6, I just said, yeah.
What,
There's no backup.
what is the, alright, so the truck is 2003, what does he get, what does he want? Just a Ford?
We didn't even ask.
Okay.
That we let that up to the department head. We don't micromanage what they utilize, what they have.
So this is gonna be looking for a sander unit also, or is he gonna move the sander unit to the new truck? The spreader?
I think it includes a new sander and plow.
So is the school department gonna get the spreader and plow, or is it those total junk?
That wasn't, I don't recall.
Okay.
Our school just got a new truck.
A new truck, or they got one of the light trucks?
I just got a brand new pickup truck with a plow on it.
I gotta tell you, I'm not a fan of passing vehicles down. If they've exhausted their useful life for one department, they don't get an extra 5-10 years in their life by changing paint on it.
A heart transplant.
Right,
What would-
and that's what's gonna happen in a year, everything major on it's gonna go, and they'd be better off trading it in.
So why does the school want it?
I don't know.
Because it's better than the one that you have. There's
Well-
one that's in sad shape.
I think they probably.
Yeah, because they got that from
My
Wayne.
old truck. After I dropped the tree on it. we gave it to them.
You dropped the tree and said, oh, it's good for the school now?
Got that right fit to it now. Good for them.
So, then the last 2 items are for the school. They need multiple heat pumps replaced on the roof of the middle high school. They weren't eligible for the ESCO. They couldn't be included for the rehab with the MSBA. So this is their court of last resort, I guess. They're looking for $200,000 to replace them.
Did Joe Piantadosi look at those as part of his, is that,
No.
oh, he didn't, okay. These are the fans that move the air out, are they? That keep the fresh air moving through the school?
No, that's,
They're heat pumps. They
they're the air conditioning for the third floor.
This says heat pumps and this says air conditioning.
Oh,
Which one is it?
I know.
well, I think it's both.
It's
Cools it,
Alright.
heats it.
All right.
Yeah.
Just checking, because the project says heat pump and the description says air conditioning.
You know.
I was gonna say, I didn't realize they
It's the
had heat
third
pumps.
floor, Mike, I think, 'cause we looked at it, remember we were upstairs, and we were down there with the energy
Energy
people,
people, yeah.
and they said, they basically, they're the original units when the building was rehabbed, and whatever year
Yeah,
that
they
was,
died,
20
yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
They're gone. They don't even make them anymore.
Yeah.
So, they have to be replaced.
Okay.
And they've been replacing them one at a time as they die. They had to replace one a year or two ago, and they're $25,000-$35,000 each.
And the air quality in there has not been,
It's mainly for all those
Yeah.
interior rooms that
Right.
have no windows that open,
yeah.
so it's.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Hey, Gary.
Hi, Gary.
Okay. And the last is stairs.
Yeah, the concrete stairs that go down into the parking lot have been, they've fallen apart, and they've been roped off, taped off, because they're a safety hazard.
The big set of stairs?
No,
No, one's further down,
yeah, the side.
toward the end of the building. There's another set of stairs
Oh,
towards the
further.
back end of
Oh, okay,
of the high school parking lot.
okay.
So they roped off the stairs and you run up the banking now.
Yeah.
Wait, this is the one down by towards the football field or towards
No,
the
the
back?
other way.
The other
The other
way.
way.
There's the baseball field.
No, towards Pearlie. It's on the Pearlie side of the
All the
high
way,
school
yeah, so it's
parking
another
lot.
set, okay. I never go up those stairs, so I
They-
don't know there.
they-
No,
They're actually gonna put stairs in, or are they gonna put a ramp in?
They said stairs.
Okay.
Is it too steep for a ramp?
it's pretty steep there, yeah.
No, I would start the stairs, ramp back further and, pitch it down, turn it back and forth, instead of having stairs to the parking lot. That's the poorest design of a parking lot I've ever seen in my life. The handicapped person has to park on the furthest place away, and then he's gotta climb this hill to get into the building, if you're handicapped. It's
Cause
terrible.
you gotta go around the,
You
go
gotta-
up the drive.
It's terrible. And those stairs, they are bad. They're terrible.
Okay.
So as you can see, there's basically $448,000, almost $450,000 in requests. With the reductions, we kept it just a tiny bit over $419,200. And the committee recommended that approximately half of that come out of the capital fund. That's obviously it's $5,000 more than it's in there. We're assuming that town meeting will be putting some of the free cash in the capital fund to replenish that. And then the other half come out of free cash.
There was a question about some surplus money from the assessor's office or something, $90,000,
Yes. That's
and we asked about that.
still available. It's approximately $91,000 from the overlay surplus account.
This is for 14, correct?
it's for 13 and 14. 13 only had about 5,000,
Yeah.
and then about 86,000 in 14. Well, actually, it's 5 years back. It's 08 and 09.
We've got, in that, right now, that overlay account, because Mike has gotta get into reserve fund transfers, because we have the reserve fund may get a very big hit tonight. So, in the overlay, one of the things that we haven't also discussed, which we need to do after we get the budget money and stuff done, is road maintenance for the potholes. For
Oh,
Peter, yeah, to see.
I was gonna ask about that.
I've got numbers from Peter. They're
Oh,
big.
okay.
They're
All right.
big, but I mean, it
Yeah.
just it's that's kind of like I think we need to discuss and see what have we after we flush out all this other stuff. Have we got any money left that we can do that? And for this year, FY14, and then if we want to take any of the money, say from free cash,
To do.
to do one infusion of something for next year.
Yeah. I mean, the roads are awful.
I know,
So we
and
have to
it's
do
just
something.
it's expensive, and it's not going to be cheap to fix.
No.
And that's just and his numbers are fine. I don't disagree with him at all.
Yeah.
So, but we need to, before we account for the overlay money, just to your point, Nick, is we've got to
Well, it's
figure out
just
where
like
we are on.
We discussed it at the meeting, and
Yeah.
it
We
doesn't
need to
matter.
make, we need to make sure we balance out fiscal 14 first, which could be,
Would that overlay money be available in 14 in a special?
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And then we still have the health insurance.
Mhm.
That has to be covered still, and Mike's got in front of him a reserve fund transfer for how much, 60?
60.
Yeah, 62 and change.
Heat. So,
Okay, so.
But before we
we've
get
been-
to that-
We've been through the capital stuff. Do we vote on these tonight, or do we?
we're gonna go through a lot of, I think, voting next week, because we really have to see where everything else flushes out.
Yeah, we have to get everything out there.
Okay, on to the next one.
This is mostly just for presentations, so we get it, and then next Wednesday, we're gonna start hashing a lot of the stuff out.
We're gonna need the second floor.
We're gonna make this work.
Okay.
So, are you all set with capital?
I am,
Okay, do you wanna go through the warrant next?
yes. Um, Not too much that has changed here. The question one is for the debt exclusion. We have to vote on it twice, once
Once it's,
at the
once it's
town
part of
meeting.
Article 2 and once on the ballot, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
But you have to show.
I was just gonna say, that seems confusing to me.
I know.
Put it on here.
It's on the warrant, just so people understand that it's gonna be on the ballot.
Okay, all right.
That's what the warrant is, it's a warning
Okay, yeah,
of
yeah,
what's gonna
okay.
be voted on. So the actual verbiage is, as Jim pointed out, it's a simple yes and no question on the ballot. And then this Article 2 is the verbiage that has to be used for bond and MSBA purposes.
And just before we go any further, I don't know, I don't think we explained it yet, is that for those of you who are new, the article numbers, most of them in the beginning won't change, but the article number is subject to change as we go along. So if you look at the end, in parentheses, it has ATM 14-01, that's the tracking number. And we signed tracking numbers a few years ago, we started this, because it could move up and down on the warrant at any point in time, depending upon how it flushes out and how many articles stay in the warrant and come out. Because it was it was more confusing to sit there and say, assign it Article 24, and then remove it, and then all of a sudden the warrant goes from Article 23 to 25. So these are tracking numbers for voting purposes, just so, as you see, the article number for our purposes, we will always refer to the ones in the parentheses. Because our actual article number will not be finalized until the warrant is actually finalized. Okay?
and the Article 1 and 2 are numbered because they have to be the Article 1 and number 2. Generally, the operating budget follows that. Stabilization fund, we're going to be transferring money into that fund from
Free cash.
free cash. Same thing same thing with capital fund. Then there's the water department operating budget. And the fire department operating budget. They're both.
I found the ambulance.
They're both.
Yeah, the ambulance.
Oh, yeah, ambulance, I'm sorry. Fire department ambulance operating budget. They're both enterprise funds, and their budgets have to be raised and appropriated as well, even though it's not direct tax dollars, it's ratepayers that pay it. And you can see then the municipal light department budget is in there, but that, because the fire department's new and the water department budget has always been separate, the light department has recently or always been included in the consent calendar. And the consent calendar,
That's not the budget, that's
the
the
continued operation.
Can you operate for one more year? If you don't do that, the town, you can't.
Shut our lights off?
Well, the light department, basically, the town can't pay any bills unless you agree to do them. We'll still send them, and I don't know what would happen, to be honest with you.
We're voting to allow the
I don't
department to
think-
continue.
Yeah,
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't realize that.
because the town takes them, gets, handles, we give all the money to the town issues
Pays
the
all your
checks.
bills.
They
Yeah.
pay the checks and
Yeah, yeah.
so forth and so on.
Yep.
So, and then within that consent calendar are other revolving funds, ZBA, road machinery, Conservation Commission, Camp Dennison. That one hasn't been, there's actually been a request to increase that from 16,000 to 25,000. That's just a spending authority. That doesn't mean they're gonna spend that much, but they've got a lot of projects going on, expensive projects, and they've always, the last couple of years, they've been bumping up against the $16,000 level.
So is that gonna change for this year?
Yeah, that
So we're gonna
needs-
wipe out
that-
16?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that needs
go
to
to
be
25,
25,
Okay.
if approved. I'm recommending that it be
Okay,
so.
but that's, right now you wanna change it in the warrant itself?
Yes. Article 12 is the cable TV. They get all their money from the cable TV franchise fees that,
Are we still with Comcast?
pardon me, Reg?
Are we still with Comcast
Comcast and Verizon,
and Verizon?
yes.
Oh, okay.
Article 13 is the highway chapter 90 money. They send us an amount. They may have already, I just didn't get it put in yet. Although that's still floating around, I think. Conservation revolving fund, fire alarm revolving fund, and inspection department revolving fund. And that's it's one vote for all of those articles at the same time.
The fire department and inspection department, those are still sufficient amounts, 10,000 and 12?
I believe so. Neither the inspector or the chief has asked for any increase.
Okay.
Then at the end of the consent calendar, this is where, with a few exceptions, you'll find all the CIP articles. I mean, there's the ladder truck payment, there's 2 payments left. $77,000. OPEB, trust fund that we set up last year, we did put 50,000 in. It's kind of a token amount.
Actually, I forgot to send it to him. I sent you a spreadsheet that shows a relatively, $75,000 a year and a continuing budget increase of like 5% in OPEB covers us, according to what they say our costs are gonna be.
Yeah.
Okay, I haven't had a chance to look at that yet.
Oh, no, okay, but I mean,
I
that's,
didn't see it either.
yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know why, I'll send it to you.
Yeah,
So
please
we're-
do.
And how many years would it take to, or just? in
Oh, you don't
it's
know,
just
yeah,
in
it's a
perpetuity?
continuing, yeah,
It's
it's a
perpetuity?
continuing
Okay.
thing.
Are we planning on using the stabilization fund for the truck, for the ladder truck again this year, or
I don't think so,
no, free cash?
yes.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah, for next, can you send me you don't have the amounts with you on stab and?
Not with me
Okay,
tonight.
all right.
So are we're just putting money in the stabilization fund, just as a, I know David loves the stabilization
We
fund.
don't have, no, we're not putting any money in the stabilization fund, right? There's an article, but
Oh,
there's
there's an
no,
article,
there's no
okay.
amount in it, and that's what we have to,
Yeah, yeah.
Remember, this is the big
because, we
sheet to
wanna
see
keep it
what
at
we have.
5%,
yeah.
To keep it
Anyway.
at 5%, we only need to put about $5,000 in it this year.
Good.
But,
We all
that-
have it.
the OPEB, that could be I mean, just the fact that we have it and we put money into it.
Yeah, it's a biggie.
We're coming up for a bond call. And,
You're talking about OPEB.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the auditors and the bond market likes the fact that towns do that. Even though, in our case, it's just a token amount. But if you do start putting in money regularly, right now, the discount rate is, I think, the auditors let us use 4% as the growth factor, and if you do it regularly, you can use 8%, and that basically cuts not cuts it in half, but it,
So you can use a 4% growth factor in the money you set aside? Is that,
yeah, it's for long term.
Yeah.
30 years.
yeah,
But if we do it on a regular basis, we can use 8%, which is what pension funds use.
oh, yeah, but
It's
that
kind of
doesn't work though.
mythical. Yeah, it's mythical these days. Nobody's getting 8%.
That's right.
Unless you put it in, hedge funds.
Unless you give it to Bernie Madoff.
Yeah, roll the dice.
I don't wanna be with them in jail.
So then, the rest of the next 5 or 6 articles that you see, the heat pump replacement for the school, town hall fence.
Oh, these are all the same.
Car 1 replacement, exhaust system, 1-ton dump truck, parking lot stairs, police radar units. They're I think that's the end of the money articles.
No, meals tax.
Well,
How much is that gonna be? What is the proposal to go up to 7 again?
no, it would allow us to add, .75
Right, so
to
it'll
the
be a
meals
7%.
tax. No, 0.7%.
No, so then the meals tax would be 7% as opposed to 6.25%.
Like what she's saying at the restaurant.
At the restaurant.
It would be,
7% rather than,
Yeah,
yes.
6.25%.
Rather than 6.25, it would be 7%. Yeah.
basically, it would add 7.5 cents to every $10,
Right, 75
Right.
cents, 100.
Right.
yeah.
Is there an estimate of how much extra money this would bring in in revenue?
First year, this DOR estimated we would have had 44,000. The second year was 56,000.
Wow.
This year is 50,000. for 15. FY 15 is 50,000. But we just, we're getting a brand-new the Irish pub is reopening under a
What is it?
different name.
The Spot.
They just got their,
The what?
The Spot. Out of all their other restaurant names, I don't know how they came up with The Spot.
The Spot?
Who is
It's
it?
a serendipity group, right?
yeah.
No,
it's a
Serenity Group.
It's a group of restaurants throughout the North Shore. The Latitude in Gloucester, there's a place in
Maggie's Farm,
Maggie's Farm in Middleton,
15 Walnut in Hamilton.
there's a, and it's an
They're good. It's good restaurants.
upscale restaurant,
Oh,
yeah.
my goodness.
Not up, it's an upscale pub style
Yeah.
restaurant.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's good. I mean, it's definitely a little bit more pricey than what we're used to, but
But he says he doesn't use Cisco, everything's prepared in
Yeah.
the
Oh,
restaurant.
it's
Wow.
good. Yeah, the food. Maggie's Farm is really good. And
So
15
they-
Walnut's good, and then there's Hale Street. Then another one.
Salem,
Oh, wow.
Seala's.
they just got
Are
their,
we eating healthy or are we just eating?
Just eating.
Okay.
You're gonna vote that down if it was a healthy place? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Ooh, it goes
It's
against
not
the
another
grain.
pizza place. It's just it's a nice.
Yeah.
So that's
Maggie's Farm, you can't even get in there on a
Yeah,
Friday or
you
Saturday
can't.
night.
and they have a good wine list. So
Oh,
I'm
wow.
happy. I'm
Wow.
glad it's coming to town. But I don't get the name The Spot, but whatever.
The Spot.
Moving right along.
yeah.
So anyway, so that's
The selectmen, this is just a placeholder, selectmen haven't
Haven't
even
decided?
discussed it yet.
Haven't?
Well, they discuss it every year, and whether or not it'll even, it's been pulled in the past or passed
Yeah.
over. It may make it to the warrant this year, but I'm not, the selectmen haven't talked about it.
Okay.
the easement on Elm Street. Does that even have a financial impact?
No.
in
No, it
regards to
doesn't.
Taxes. Okay.
But we're technically transferring land and it needs town meeting approval.
This is allowing the people whose land the access road is on to use it to get in and park, right?
Yes. The emergency access road for the new Pembroke School comes out where that 104 Elm Street. And the people who live there have been using that as their driveway. They thought it was an easement. They thought it was their land and we had an easement on it, and it's actually in the reverse.
Man.
It's our land and they've been
Oh, is that, I didn't know, I didn't
using it.
realize that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So we're going to make it official.
I'm not very happy. And with 68 Elm Street, is that the one that's up the road?
Yeah, I
What's
didn't
happening? I
understand
don't
the
understand what's-
significance of 68 Elm Street.
That's the
Is that school?
Pembroke School.
That's the
Oh, that's the
Pembroke.
school's
Yeah.
address. Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
So it's not another resident, it's a school.
No. So we're working out, we have a memorandum of understanding pending with the owners at 104 Elm Street. Hasn't been signed yet.
And there's no financial impact?
No. Well, when the road goes through, as part of the Pembroke project, they're going to improve, we're gonna dig up their driveway and we're gonna pave part of it and then improve the grade of the rest of it, as part of the,
It's a, on the sum total of the cost of the Pembroke, it's a pretty insignificant amount. It's gonna be paid for out of that.
And then,
It's
they'll
like
get a
10
driveway and their
10K.
property will be taken care of.
It's, the
Yes.
driveway will be the access road, and they're putting in a little parking area for them.
so they don't park in the access road,
Yeah,
which is,
And they
For
moved
emergency
the
vehicles
gate,
only.
The gate for the access road is back at the back end of their property.
yes. This personnel bylaw amendment, that's another questionable one. It's a placeholder right now. As you know, the selectmen reconstituted the personnel board. There were 4, now we're back down to 3, unfortunately. Rich's passing, which was always the main problem. We had a hard time getting a quorum. There's supposed to be 5 members on the board. The best we did was 4 recently. Now we're, like I said, we're back down to 3. This was recommended by the DOR, not necessarily the language, but the DOR in a financial management report done almost a year and a half ago recommended that most towns don't have personnel boards anymore, they have professional staff. So that's why we recommended doing away with it. This next series are all
Ed's gonna do those.
CPC, just jumping over them, then you come to,
Fingerprinting?
yeah, these are, then the balance of these are, well, there's a community preservation bylaw that submitted by the CPC. It's not a CPC article. The selectmen have to decide whether it would go on the warrant. The other articles, A through whatever, they have to go on because the CPC recommended them.
So are these articles that are on here all recommended by CPC?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, A through F.
okay.
Article, bylaw amendment is submitted by CPC, but the selectmen have taken no action on that, this or any of these. And then fingerprinting bylaw, the police department asked for that. And there's a marijuana, medicinal marijuana, accessory apartments. I think the solar energy facilities has been, the planning board has requested that be pulled.
As I was saying, has the planning board going forward with all these, or, because they said some of these may not be going forward, correct?
I think it's the solar energy. They haven't completed the hearings on the accessory apartments. I know that's engendering a lot of debate.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. And then there's a street acceptance for Harmony Lane, and then there's one citizen's petition. That's the last article, asking for a specific lot to be rezoned from commercial to residential.
Does that have any financial implications?
No, because the tax rate doesn't change. And actually, the value of the property will probably go up when it's the house on the corner of Elm Street. It used to be a temporary library. It's got
Oh,
the big
yeah.
pillars.
Everybody knows about
Yeah.
columns.
Yeah, and that's commercial right now. Somebody is purchasing it or has purchased and wants to make it a residence.
They're rehabbing it right now.
So,
I thought that was illegal.
So isn't that spot zoning, just changing one lot?
normally, it could be considered that, but because it's adjacent to both lots, both zones, you're just, spot zoning, you kind of
Put something in the middle of
isolate it.
another, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
This one would be moving the boundary.
I believe, Wayne, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't that residential 1,000 years ago, and then Danvers Concrete bought the property and turned it into commercial, so they could own that as almost like a buffer for the residents?
Bought it, for the building supply. They bought it,
Well, what was it, Danvers, I thought it was
well, it
Danvers.
was Davis Block and the building supply, and then it changed to be Davis Block and the building supply. And then it went from Davis Block, and Davis Block bought, building supply bought Davis Block.
Right.
And then they had this, Davis Block was left with the residents,
Right.
and so they sold it.
Right, but that property was bought as, I think, as a buffer zone many, many, many years ago.
Yes.
No question. Baldwin's used to run like this
That was his,
playground.
Right, that was Spalding's before you went across the street. Okay, now we're all aging ourselves, so we'll stop.
yeah. What was the building before it was that? It was it the Ice House? Or was it a church?
No, the
Well,
church
it was a
burned.
home. I've been told it was a Greek revival style home.
The church was on where the
Yeah.
triangle used to be, that Jack took out. That's where the church used to be that burned.
When did that happen?
Way
Wait,
long.
oh.
'Cause it wasn't here when I.
It was before photography, not any pictures of that one.
These sketches.
Okay, so, we can start taking votes on this next week, if you want. We can take votes tonight if you want, or we can just run,
So are we gonna, is that gonna give us a drop
Yep,
through?
yep.
Oh, okay.
so.
You ready?
Anybody have any questions on anything Mike has presented?
It's doing the CPC?
Ed's doing the CPC.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Article A is community preservation general budget, that's fairly standard, that's where we have to take out and maintain $78,000, or less than 10% of estimated fiscal year revenues. For acquisition, creation, preservation of open space, also for preservation, restoration, rehabilitation of historic resources, and for creation, preservation, support of community housing. Under appropriations, 21,000, which is less than 5% of the fiscal revenues, to meet administrative expenses. And then we put in $172,000 plus the 78,000 for open space, for a total of $250,000 to be put towards debt service, principal and interest payments, and any and all costs incidental and related to bond notes and instruments incurred by the Community Preservation Fund related to the articles, as you well know, for the fields.
And more, and Willowbrook Farm.
Right.
Okay.
And
Oh, both of those, okay.
that was done primarily, and that was unanimous, and that was done primarily because there is, there's some fear of, as Mike and I said last meeting, something hitting our books every year of $189,000. The CPA funds may be cut because more and more municipalities, cities and towns are going to the 3% threshold. So what happens is the more towns that go into that, the more the pie gets sliced up smaller. So we put that in
The
as,
pie from the state.
yes. And so we decided that that was probably a prudent decision to make, to kind of forward pay that in case there was a shortfall, or a case an emergency came up where we had to allocate more money and our funds were dwindling. Any questions on that? Obviously, we don't have final say over it, we're only
Right.
suggesting on what we do. Affordable Housing Trust, that was for the allocation of $100,000 towards the purchase of property for affordable housing. That was not unanimous.
Do you have the vote on that?
Gary, was it like 6-2?
Just bring it next week. That's-
It sounds,
I think it was 6-2.
Okay.
I was against. And so was Gary.
So we have the two.
Yeah.
I got, what are we buying?
Good question.
There's a developer that's buying property, and he's gonna build affordable housing. It's 7 units, is it? 7 units of affordable housing, supposedly.
This
it's
goes
a
into the,
discussion.
Yeah.
this doesn't necessarily go for that. This goes into the Affordable Housing Trust that actually disseminates where the money can get
Oh,
expended
okay,
to.
okay, all right. So we're giving them $100,000 to spend later on.
Right, and if you want, we can have someone from the Affordable Housing Trust come in next week if you want to have somebody explain
No.
what it's about.
And there is an informational session for the CPC, April 15th.
Okay, that's good.
C, Community Preservation Historic Resources, Flagpoles Installation Restoration. And this one is for the Georgetown Historical Commission, Georgetown Parks and Rec, and it's for flagpoles at Union Cemetery and Harry Murch Park. We put them together, and this was approved unanimously.
What flagpoles are
Yeah,
missing
'cause
at,
they just
Harry
put new
Murch?
flagpoles in
They
Harry
want
Murch.
that's a merchant marine flag that everybody has said they want to have up there with the other services.
There's supposedly 7 services, aren't there? And there's 5 up there.
I was originally against it too.
I know there's 5, but I think there are 2 more branches of services that are not
The fear that I had and a number of other people had was, where does it stop?
I know.
If the merchant marines, why not the wax? Why not this? Why
Well,
not
no,
that?
there are legitimately 7 branches of service
Right, but,
within the government that fall in the same level of,
but the, you know, the VFW, the American Legion, all of the groups
Okay.
were, in favor of it.
okay.
Community Preservation Historic Resources category, Pentucket Pond Vista View, $62,000. This is to take down the fence,
Oh.
and now, this one also, I believe, was 6-2. I voted against this one too.
Wasn't the fence put up for a particular reason?
It was, but the problem we're having with this one is the neighbors have been pushing and pushing and pushing on this. We had a little bit of a, not a dispute, but, you know, people were saying that this is direct democracy in action, and they said that, you know, 24 people showed up to support it, and I said, well, I support the other 7,000. And I thought it was too narrowly focused on, you know, really for a small group of people. From what Gary says, there's a possibility it's already gone through the House and the Senate in the budget for $50,000 to remediate this. And instead of having a fence, to put in guardrails.
As I said, the fence wasn't put up for view, the fence was put up for safety. To stop cars from going into the pond as
Again,
they go whipping around the corner.
And I, trust me, I went all through this with the people that were there. They thought I was the second coming of the evil one because I was against it. We had people telling us that because of the fence, people drove faster through it, which is absurd.
They drove faster through what, the road?
Through the road, yes.
That part of the road?
Yep. They also said that it killed baby ducks and turtles. And there were, and also too, the actual where it goes from a fence down to a guardrail, those guardrails really aren't legal. They're not built correctly. Very shoddy. So I think we voted for this conditionally with the feeling that it was quite possible that the money would be coming from the state. And there's a clause in there to sunset this to get the money back if the state pays for it.
Oh, okay.
What if the state does the same thing? If we pay for it, they're gonna take
Yeah.
their money back.
Yeah, but and that was, that, we talked about that.
Don't tell them.
Rehabilitation of American Legion Park, this is the ongoing, playground issue. And essentially, they've gone out of budget, and so they came back to us and they're looking for additional monies so they could finish it.
This is the building or the playground?
Playground.
Playground, okay.
I thought we passed a gazebo last year.
Well, this is specifically for
First stage, I
a big kid and little kid playgrounds.
Okay.
And we,
It was a pavilion.
the thought process on this was we had to see this thing through and finish it. Because there's already money sunk into it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that makes perfect sense, yeah.
And real playground equipment for these type of things are expensive
It's the playground that they built about 20 years ago down there.
by a bunch of volunteers.
By a
Right.
bunch of
Right,
volunteers
yeah,
on the
yeah.
weekend.
And they
yeah,
have
yeah.
to take it, they have to dismantle it,
Yeah, I know.
and they have to dispose of it.
Yeah.
So
Good luck taking
they've
that.
managed to reduce some of the cost by having people volunteer to do certain things, but there's a limit to what can be done. That passed unanimously.
Okay.
The West Street soccer fields, they originally came to us, I forget for how much, it was quite a bit, $70,000. but they didn't show, nobody showed up to support it, we didn't get any numbers. So conditionally, we agreed for $10,000 to at least get started with engineering, permitting, implementation of improvements, that type of thing. And that is also sunsetted as well, so that money can come back if nothing happens. Because that particular, the reason we didn't take any action on it, because the West Street soccer field depends upon the water department and the Concom because of the turtles. And, yeah, the turtles nest there. So, since there was no one there from the Concom and there was nobody there from the water department, we decided to just kind of leave that open, approve $10,000, but sunset it in case the water department comes in and says, you can't do this.
So this is request by Park and Rec?
Yes. And the bylaw amendment, the language,
Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, Ed. What was that vote?
that was unanimous. The wording in the verbiage in the bylaw amendment, the thought process behind that was that the DOL finding made it known that there was no language in there where the CPC could actually distribute money and approve bills. So that was put in there based on the idea that or the concept that a lot of the towns in the area follow that practice. And that according to the 44B section 13, they have to keep track of all the appropriations and expenditures. And the rationale behind doing that is that the CPC disperses the money and has to account for it in terms of the budget and how much money is left. And that the town actually has final approval over any of the bills that we approve anyway. So that's why that was put in there.
But let me ask you this, is this putting in writing that the bills have to be approved by the CPC committee as a whole?
For anything that comes out is dispersed out of CPC.
I know it was talked about before, it was brought up at a selectmen's meeting, why can't it be someone as a person who is in CPC, who is, part of is the representative, say, to a particular project or whatever, why can't they, on behalf of the CPC, approve the bills so that we can get them processed, as opposed to waiting for CPC to meet and approve the bills?
Well, the CPC, as you know, meets twice a month. And the feeling, just in terms of within the CPC, and I can't confirm it or deny it, is that we approve the bills pretty quickly. And that really isn't a major issue, at least from the CPC's point of view. I don't think that there's, if it was someone on the CPC approving them based on where, the recommendation is coming from, that hasn't been brought up. I don't think it's something that would not be considered, because it would still allow the CPC to control and track the disbursements.
To make sure it's done correctly,
Right.
yeah.
Because obviously the fear is that if money is dispersed to pay a bill unknowingly, then, or there's a miscommunication or a paperwork problem, we've still got to deal with the fact that we've got to maintain how much money we have left in the different accounts in order to be able to manage it properly.
Right, but that's also a responsibility of town accountant,
Yeah,
correct?
well, Mary
That is
does
a-
that
yeah.
as well.
But she
town
has
accountant.
final say on it anyway.
That's my question, is that if for instance, I mean, because I remember this meeting, I caught part of it in the selectmen's
Right.
meeting, did you catch that meeting?
I didn't, but I think I read
Alright.
about it, yeah.
That, say, a committee, American Legion Park approves the bills, then it has to go to CPC. Say Mary has a problem, now it's gotta go back, who does it go back to, CPC and then American Legion, and now you gotta wait for another meeting, as opposed to, it gets down to Mary, she sees it, there's a problem, and start dealing with it right away, as opposed to waiting for meetings. I guess my question is that who, is the DOR requesting that something be specifically put in writing, or is the DOR requesting this particular process be put into place.
The DOR said there was nothing in the bylaw that specifically addressed the issue. And so therefore, this was put in to address the issue.
Okay,
Now, in terms of,
the issue of who's allowed to approve funding.
well, yeah.
Okay.
And also to be consistent, because again, the point is that of all the monies coming from and flowing from the CPC, and we're approving bills that are part of, the allocations we've already made, then that needs to be accounted for correctly and properly. Now, in terms of the timeliness of paying the bills, I have noticed that if there is an emergency, and we ran up against an emergency on Wheelerbrook Farm where they were getting close to it was a drop dead date for money to pay him.
Right.
We were ready to go into special meeting at a moment's notice in order to do that. So I think there's, if there's a problem or if there's an issue, there's a willingness on the CPC to address it immediately. So I don't think there's an issue with an unwillingness to deal with issues as they come up quickly.
Yeah, Mike?
As a finance director, I have seen firsthand that there is this as it stands now is just an extra layer of bureaucracy. And it does, I'm here to tell you, it delay the payment of the bills by 30 and even 60 and sometimes 90 days. It's really hard for the committee to approve it. They meet regularly in the fall and the winter, so it's easy to get the bills paid. After town meeting, when the projects start, they rarely meet because they don't get to have, they seldom have a quorum. So the bills go unpaid for that length of time.
Respectfully, Mike, I was there this summer and I did not find that to be the case.
I've got a bill right now, and depending upon when it's submitted, if you don't hit the cycle right, you miss it.
And I can understand that, and I'm not disputing that happens. All I'm saying to you is that, we're having a meeting on April 15th, and that probably, with the full CPC committee, is probably the best place to address this issue, particularly if you're looking for a fix. I'm obviously not gonna fix it tonight.
Right, and that's what, and I guess that there is a problem.
Yes, there is.
It's been identified that there is a problem. It's not like, well, we're anticipating a problem, but there is a problem. It's been evidenced in the past that there is, and it needs to be fixed. Whether this particular wording on the bylaw is the right fix.
Well, and the problem you're saying is the bill's not getting paid as opposed to,
Right.
okay.
Yeah, so
Well,
Gary had a question or comment?
Yeah, question is on procedure on, as a bylaw change, I imagine we need a hearing on it. Now, is the CPC holding a hearing on April 15th? Do we cover that,
That we,
Mike? Or does the selectmen, where it's on the warrant, as a bylaw, hold that hearing?
I think it would be the selectmen to hold the hearing. The selectmen control what goes on this warrant.
Yeah,
Like
well,
I
like
said
some-
earlier, the alphabet articles have to go on. This isn't an alphabet article, it's a bylaw article, and the
But-
selectmen determine whether it goes on
On
and what the
planning,
language is.
On some of them, planning board does it, so that's what, I mean, is
Yeah.
there, is
You're
it
trying to see
specific?
whose hearing counts?
That's what I mean, can CPC hold the hearing? I mean, it's a public hearing held by CPC, can we do it? Or does it have to be the selectmen? That's.
For timing wise, to see if they have to hold another hearing for it.
well, I go through the bills that I see here, and there's a bill here that was, the vendor date was 1/13. We got it March 4th.
Yeah, see, and
Yes, and
that's
that's-
why I'm saying this is an extra layer. It's already gone through the spending authority. they've approved it. This is an extra layer of approval.
Yeah, but again, we are chartered with approving this. We are under 40, what is it, 44B, section 13? That's one of the things that we have to do. We have to record all the appropriations, expenditures, and we're accountable for it.
You're only required to track them. That's the language in the
All right, well,
law.
let me ask you a question then. Again, with respect. If the bill comes in on 1/13 of this year, and it's submitted to us on March 4th, and we approved it on March 18th, it seems to me that there is almost 45 days between when the bill was submitted and when we received it, and we turned it around. So how would we be responsible for the fact that the bill was out there for between the 13th of the month and March 4th? How does that account for an extra layer of bureaucracy? We turned it around as soon as we had the next meeting.
Well, I guess it's just, I guess in one instance, and I've seen this with staff, when the staff committee meeting, that's why I have a little bit of an insight to this, is that if the committee votes to approve the bill, they should be able to get immediately with the representative and then start the process, as opposed to, I don't know the timing on
I'm not saying
this,
it
yeah.
can't, I'm not saying that
Right.
it can't be
This
improved.
this
But what
whole-
I am saying is that when I look at stuff like this,
Yeah.
I don't see how we're responsible if we're turning it around as quickly as we are, and it takes 6 weeks to get to us.
What was the bill for?
The school, it's for Gale Associates.
And that's, but you guys got it on the 4th, and you didn't approve it till the 18th. That's another 2-week
What
lag, and I
happened
guess
to-
that's,
So
I remember,
6 weeks is fine.
what happened to the
2
month of
weeks-
February?
what?
They got the bill in January.
Well, you know.
What happened to the month of February?
Kim Douglas didn't have it.
I know, you didn't have it. Who did?
It's just- and I think it's not just saying the CPC is broken, I think that the
The process.
process
doesn't work
itself,
well.
the process
It can be
itself
improved.
needs to be fixed, it's just
Oh,
the
yeah.
process.
It needs to be streamlined. It's not broken, it's just,
Oh.
it doesn't connect well.
Right, so I would say for well, we can debate this all night, but I mean, it's just, it's,
Well, this is.
when we wanna think about it, and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
when we
I
do
don't
the
wanna-
deliberations next week, I mean.
Sandy, I don't think this is without having the full CPC board in terms of being part of this, I don't think it's appropriate. I think if you have specific questions,
Mhm.
there's far more experience on that board than I have.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that's, and that's fine, so I will see when they can get here to meet with us, and I guess, but the big question is also timing wise, Mike, is if CPC holds a hearing, is that hearing count as the hearing for a bylaw, or do the selectmen have to have another one? And then I would respectfully ask for the selectmen, in regards to any of these articles, to, before you decide to take them, if there's an article you're considering, let me back up, if there's an article you're considering taking off, to refrain from doing so until the finance committee, especially something like this, as the advisory board, because where the finance and advisory board has a time to discuss, here's some other information, and make a recommendation to you as the board of selectmen, whether it should stay on the warrant or not. Because that's usually, when it comes down to, certain things like this, if, that's why we like to have the warrant closed when we ask, so that we have time to actually review and get you our recommendations of whether something should be, hey, we're looking at this saying, you know what, this still may need a little bit more debate, and you may wanna think about doing it
That's a good point.
a little bit later, because I mean, this is, and as the advisory board, we have no conflict of interest with any of this stuff, because we're not in tune with projects and with the board itself, so it's a totally outside view.
I will find out who holds the hearing.
Okay. Did you have another question, Gary, or comment?
Just a comment.
Yeah.
I mean, on the CPC and how we work, as Ed mentioned, the Wheeler Brook Farm thing, there was a deadline on there. And what we did was, I believe it was over the contract, and the contract hadn't quite been approved by council. But we had seen some, and did we have the contract? Well, anyway, whatever we were missing, it might have been signatures because it was a land swap thing. We approved it. But by approving it, then, when the contracts and that came in, we were able to go to the police department in a folder and sign them. So, I mean, we really worked hard to make sure that
The
things
bond,
were
Right,
qualified.
but see,
bond
this-
wasn't done on it, and we were appropriating money that,
That was, okay, yeah.
But
I
then
mean,
there's also-
everything was in place, but something was holding it up, but it wasn't our board, and we
Right.
didn't want it to be our board.
Right, but and that's just it, is with the streamline, because and it could be simple as the fact of, oh, it's winter, a meeting has to get canceled, so the board can't meet to vote on the bill, now it's pushed off
Agreed,
again.
And we did because of weather, missed 2 meetings.
That's what I'm saying, so
And
the
all
weather
that.
does that, so it is definitely, it's got,
Yeah,
maybe it's not broken, but it's got a fracture in it, it's bruised, it's got a contusion, something's gotta be better, something has to work better than this, because this is,
well, you can't, I mean, we all discussed this last night, the CPC.
Yeah.
You can't have vendors sitting out there for over 60, 75 days. It's not fair, and
That's right.
it gives
Right.
us a bad name.
Right.
And we're cognizant of that.
right, and that's what I'm saying, I'm not saying it's just you guys, I'm saying, but it's also, there's other factors all the way.
No, at Camp Dennison, we have a real problem with that. And quite frankly, the CPC is the least of the problem. I mean, it is an extra couple of weeks. But we have to go through the Conservation Commission to get our, and then they, from the Conservation Commission, it goes to you guys. And the Conservation Commission had no meeting in January or February. So we had vendors that did things in late December or early January that are just gonna get paid. And, you know, the
Right.
bill's going out in
And,
March.
and again,
on the
we're aware of
22nd.
that, and we don't, the first thing we do is deal with the bills whenever we meet.
Okay, so,
You know, I have to admit, that's the case. But the whole process is just awful. It just takes
Right,
so long.
right,
I mean,
but
it's crazy.
again, you know,
You know,
there's
it's
no
the,
one
and it's the state. As far as I know, this is how we have to operate, right?
right, and
By the
that's,
state, is there another way to operate?
Spending authority has to approve the bills.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean,
They're not
this-
the spending authority. The CPC is not the spending authority.
that's,
Who's the
But we're
spending authority?
responsible for disbursement and approval, and
No.
it's just a matter of,
that's where the question lies at,
They're
is
not.
the legality of you, that the spending authority goes to such as the turf committee, Camp Dennison,
Or is the
Affordable
spending
Housing
authority
Trust.
the town?
No, there's different spending authorities. The Pearlie project
Okay,
gets approved by the school committee.
right.
And then it should just go to the accountant on the warrant. It goes to the CPC, and then it goes back to the
Right.
warrant.
And that's the question of,
That's the extra step. It doesn't need to be by state law.
Right.
There is no spending authority under the state law, under MGL or a bylaw that gives the CPC spending authority. They disperse the funds,
which is what I
and
said.
that's it.
right,
I mean, you put it before the voters. Once the voters vote, the CPC's job is done, with the exception of tracking the spending.
Right.
And tracking the spending doesn't mean approving bills. It just means, once the bills are paid, they get a report and says, this has been spent.
Right.
That's
You-
all
you get that from-
DOR
You get that
says.
from Mary. Mary keeps
That's
that.
all the DOR says is the CPC's authority, and because other towns do it, doesn't make it right.
right, because other, and
But
there's,
just because just because you don't wanna do it, doesn't make it right either necessarily.
and
I mean,
that's,
if it's standard practice for other towns, that means it's been vetted through some kind of process by town management or town selectmen, whatever. I frankly, I'm getting confused here in terms of what is the real issue. Is the issue because the payments aren't getting paid fast enough, or is there another issue? And quite frankly, I'm not sure what it is right now.
I think there's been a delay in payments, and it's a matter of, is it, like I said before, I don't think this is streamlined enough for the payments, there's definitely an issue, so whereas is putting something in a bylaw change such as this definitively adding another layer? Or is there some sort of common ground to actually to make us sure we abide by the law, but then
You
CPC.
can always find common ground, Sandy.
Oh, I know that.
But
And
you have to
that's-
talk to the right people.
Right, and Mike is correct, is that once the funds are appropriated at town meeting, CPC's authority over the funds is gone.
Essentially, the money is, yes, and
It-
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
But again, all I'm saying to you is that there are reasons for everything that happens.
Right.
And the proper forum for this is by having either meeting with the CPC or having the CPC come here. It is unfortunate they could not make it tonight.
Yeah.
There were legitimate reasons.
Mhm. And that's fine, and like I said, this and
Then maybe we should try to do that.
we'll
Just
do
sit
that
down with
when
those
we'll
guys,
have
yeah.
time. I mean, if this is, we always are going to have articles that don't make it, our recommendation does not make it into the warrant. However, whether we need to have a discussion about this before the warrant is finalized by the selectmen to see if it stays on, or if for some reason gets
yeah.
pulled off because it needs to get reworked, because,
Right.
compromises have to come up. So we'll need to address that sooner rather than later.
I
But
think,
in-
that- I think, that- yeah, sooner or later, but I think there's definitely a misunderstanding or, not everybody's on the same page here.
That's evident.
That's evident, and we don't wanna go to town meeting with not everybody on the same
No,
page.
exactly, not with something.
We need to, all parties need to sit down.
And the next week's meeting is 2 books to do that. So, Mike, if you can find out the correct hearing, so we have a timeline on this, and,
Cause as it sits right now, I wouldn't put this thing in before the voters.
I'm inclined to agree with you on that, just based on that we
I
have more
couldn't, I wouldn't
discussion.
recommend putting that out there.
So, let's have, next week is gonna be real, this is a bigger discussion. Next week's gonna be really full with numbers, votes and things like that happening, the deliberations. The following meeting, ideally, if we're good to go, and I think we have, and we're good, we might be able to finalize based on numbers that we have. We may be able to finalize, certain
The
things next
budget,
week,
okay.
the budget and some other things. And if you're thinking we're still gonna get more money, more numbers in, then we have to wait for the next week to just make more adjustments.
But the next week is the last,
The next week is the last week,
that we
What's the
can do
date
that.
next week? Is it Wednesday?
Wednesday the 26th, right.
26th.
And then the following Wednesday, April 2nd, it says for the final report.
Right.
So I think we'll make a decision when we have ask CPC to come in with us, once you tell us that information next week on the hearing. Cause that could have a definitive difference of whether the selectmen have to have a hearing, and do you have to post it so many times, or is CPC hearing adequate? Cause we've never had this, I don't think.
Well, last year we had to have a hearing, what was it for? It was a bylaw, and it came under us.
Okay.
And we did have a
I
hearing.
don't recall.
And I think the procedure is just place it on the selectmen's agenda. There's no,
Need for a hearing, open hearing,
well, it's a hearing,
but it's not a separate hearing.
but it's not, right, and
Okay.
it's just, 48-hour notice, and you don't have to put things in the newspaper.
Oh, that's
That's
right.
right.
So it's not a
It's-
formal public hearing.
Yeah.
Public meeting.
Yeah,
Well, no, they open the hearing, but it's
They
not like
open
it's
a
a planning
hearing.
board hearing that has to be posted
No,
so many
no,
days
it's
in
a public,
advance.
public meeting, it's on the agenda, like.
zoning laws are a lot different than
Yeah.
bylaws.
Yeah.
You know, Zoning bylaw has to follow, a formal procedure.
Advertisement and the
A-
whole,
A
Yeah.
regular bylaw is much less intrusive.
well, I think we have found our controversial article for the year. There's always
We
one,
have to have one.
we have to have one,
It
it
doesn't
wouldn't be,
necessarily have to be.
we have to have one, Ed, that's tradition. We're
Well,
gonna stay with tradition,
the,
as the Fiddler on the Roof says.
the next CPC meeting is the 1st,
Okay,
so it's the day before.
okay. And like I said, I wanna hear, I'm not gonna book it now until we hear from Mike to see if there's other things that we have to do. And then, yeah, And then after next Wednesday, we'll decide when to invite CPC, when they can come in. So we can see if this is, so we can discuss it.
Might be easier if someone's having a hearing. Try to get to that together there also.
They're having an informational hearing on the 15th of April.
I think this is gonna take a little bit more than,
Maybe you can hold a hearing.
I don't think it's so much a hearing, I think it's just, it's our discussion, and like I said, for us, we don't have to have a hearing, for us, it's discussing, hearing the information, and then making a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen whether to keep it on the warrant or not. So, and it might, just for procedural purposes, if our recommendation is to keep it on the warrant, it's not a big, that's the same thing, but if our recommendation is either to amend or to remove it from the warrant, i.e. if it's to amend, the warrant is closed, so we can't do that for this town meeting, right? Because the spirit of the article would change the bylaw.
No, the selectmen can open the warrant.
Okay.
They've done it in the past.
If there's a recommendation for change.
Just, there is other wording in there that does also need to be brought up to date. It's not just that, just so as you know.
Yeah.
I think is it to do with the recreation, I think?
Yeah.
So it's,
Okay. Alrighty. Any other questions? Alright, we're all good to, next Wednesday's meeting will be on the second floor.
I thought, I had one more thing.
Oh, we have to sign some
Oh, reserve fund.
transfers.
Thank you, Wayne.
I wasn't gonna miss it.
Last time we were doing this in the hallway, for crying.
You're right. I remember
Well, you
the
just
callback.
signed, you approved.
We approved it, we
we
just had to
approved it.
sign.
There's a bunch of them.
I use my DocuSign thing, I like that, that's a lot better.
Yeah.
We have where's the original?
What am I supposed
I
to do
have
with
the
this?
original.
You have the original? Okay, so is this
Okay.
a sheet? Oh, no, don't, Reggie, that's,
No?
We all
no,
signed one.
we all signed one.
Yeah,
This is for us to discuss, so is this
Okay.
something for each of us?
yes.
Okay. Oh, do you have another copy? No?
I
Yep.
had
Oh,
10.
there it is.
Yep, there they are, there's plenty.
Okay, there's two requests before you. One is for $2,729 for workers' comp charges. We had our annual audit of our payroll, and the same thing happened last year. Certain employees were misclassified, and they were the employees from the school cafeteria. They were classified as and just normal school employees. It turns out that the cafeteria employees are have the third highest, most dangerous job in the town, right after linemen and highwaymen. We pay more for them than the police and the fire, on a rate basis. I asked the workers' comp provider why, when it was pointed out the previous year, why wasn't it adjusted for this year? And I said, well, we work 2 fiscal years behind, so they wouldn't have adjusted it until this next year. So we paid an extra $8,000 last year. This year, it was $16,000.
Let's do away with the lunch program, everybody bring their lunch,
Yeah.
and then we'll save money in 2 years.
We were able, through the rewards program, by doing extra training and going to meetings and things like that, we had accumulated about $8,000 in credits. So we applied it to what was left in the budget, and this is the shortfall, 2729.
Okay.
And the next,
The next one is to cover shortfall in heating expenses. As you all know, this has been a severely cold winter. And I compared last year's to the current, this is just for gas. And we were in deficit last year at this time as well, not nearly as much, but when we paid our February bills, we had run out of money. Last year, we solved it by, we didn't have the ESCO payment to make, so we took it out of we took $50,000 out of the debt service line item in May. That's the only time of year you can do line item transfers. We were able to hold it off until then. We can't hold it off till now, now.
is this adjusted, is this across the board for everybody across the town, or just a
Yes.
particular?
Yeah, all of the
This is
fuel is in
everybody.
one
Yeah.
place now, right?
And has the FY15 budget been adjusted appropriately?
That's my next one.
Sorry.
It's all right.
No, it hasn't, not yet.
Okay, so we should probably make a note on that when we discuss the budget next week.
Yeah, to increase it by, at least.
Whatever, yeah,
'Cause
whatever
this
the
is a
projection.
big hit,
$1,000.
this is
How
a
much
big
of-
hit in reserve
Yeah.
How
fund.
high did the quantities go up, or is the quantity and cost?
Well, it's both.
Both.
The gas rates have gone up a lot, and degree days, the usage
Oh, yeah.
has gone through the roof.
And the
It's
bill you
just
get
been
next month's gonna look the same.
bitterly cold. And that's what this is to cover. This will get us through the end of April. And then we're gonna have to look to, depending upon what May and June, we'll probably have to do a line item transfer to cover that. We're about $20,000 more in deficit at this time than we were last year. So that's the difference in the heating bills, about $23,000.
So are we going to need to add 60,000 to the budget for heating for next year?
No, all of
Probably.
them, like schools, all the buildings.
Okay.
The schools, the library,
Actually, it doesn't, no, the library wasn't in the ESCO.
this
so-
building,
Yeah, and highway and public safety. And the schools.
and the schools, yeah. Those are the buildings he's talking about.
Are we under contract with the gas or just open market?
We are. But there's an adjustment clause after a certain amount.
They aren't real friendly to municipalities. We're on a commercial rate. Tie.
Are we on a,
We have a
Consortium?
we buy it bulk, yes, with the school, and then we have a broker that buys it for us.
Are you ready for a motion?
I will entertain a motion to move from the reserve fund to line
You wanna do it?
19121, workers' comp, the amount of $2,729.
Oh, so moved.
Oh, man, I already wrote down Rich's name.
I'll do it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I'll entertain a motion to move from the reserve fund to line item 11513, natural gas, the amount of $60,000 to cover expected expenses.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Need a pen to start signing.
Now can we go home?
Yeah.
After you
Wait
finish
just a minute, after
signing,
you
so we're
sign.
not in the hall.
Sign your signature in the.
Okay. Mike, you have your punch list for next week? And could you email me the budget, the Excel, so that way, for next week, I'm gonna put a completely different column in like we do before, as we start moving things in and out, so we can make the notations of why we did it, and add it up, because that's, obviously, I think we're going to have, as opposed to the past couple of years, we haven't had to do as much, I think we're gonna have a lot of in going in and out.
A lot of what?
A lot of going in and out on certain line items to get that bottom line number, because there's still a lot of moving targets in this budget.
Okay, you'll have to explain that as we go.
Yes, don't worry.
There is no other business, I move we adjourn.
Second.
Not till you sign your name. Okay.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Good night, and thank you for joining us.
Good night.
Good night.